Hello everyone, and welcome to this video. In the following couple of minutes I want to introduce myself to you and tell you something about my motives and motivations that brought me to this place today. So the process I will be talking about first started about 2 years ago, around the time of my Abitur exam, or rather high school exam. During this time I had to find an appropriate job for me, or at least one that suited my interests. But it was not that easy because I didn't find anything, to be honest. Everywhere I looked I encountered the same. Different or dozens of jobs being presented in a handsome way, but none of them really spoke to me. So especially this was really frustrating because everyone else was praising their future intentions, plans and all their efforts. But I couldn't help it. I just didn't fit in that concept of getting a job and dedicating my whole life to it. But as a mean to fit in, I just urged myself to apply for different jobs. Although in my inner I knew it was just the wrong decision, because I felt something rebelling inside of me against this idea of getting a regular job. But I did it nevertheless, although it was kind of an inner conflict between this one side of me, which tried to be normal, which tried to fit in, and this other side of, well, I didn't know exactly what it was at this time, but the only thing I felt about it was it rebelling against several ideas, and this idea of getting a regular job was one of them. So during one of those occupational guidance lessons, in which someone presents all kinds of different jobs and professions to you, I convinced myself that I wanted to become a police officer. Now it was far away from an own inner impulse. It was rather the euphoria and eagerness of another student which convinced me in the end. But however, I convinced myself and applied myself for this job. And as a result I was invited by them to their location, and I had to travel quite a distance because they were situated in another state of Germany. But once I reached them, I had to face 3 different challenges or tests. The first one was a simple intellectual or intelligence test, and the second one was a sports test consisting of 4 different disciplines, and the third one was a medical check. But I failed at the second test in the third discipline, because I jumped 7 centimeters too short, to be exact. And as a consequence, this meant I could just move back home again, which I did ultimately. So I buried this intention of becoming a police officer, although I had the chance to apply myself a second time. But I neglected it, also because of an arrangement I had with my uncle at this time. So my uncle was living and working in Spain, he's still doing that, and every time he visited us around Christmas every year, he wanted one of our family to come and visit him in Spain. But it was rather complicated, because once my grandma had to look after my grandpa, who was constantly lying in bed, and my mother had to work all day. And on my behalf I had to look after my Abitur exams or my high school exams, and I had to finish them primarily. So neither of us was really able to do it, until now, because now I had finished all my stuff and had enough free time to finally do it. And so it came to that kind of deal we made, in which I passed all year 2017 at his place, assisting him in different matters or things. So he was entangled in a restaurant, and it meant a lot of work to do. And it was perfect for me because as an exchange of my work, I could just live in his house. It was kind of an exchange from both parties. But when I came back 2018, in the beginning of this year, I had to face the situation again of not finding a job or having progress in this matter. So the pressure my family and my friends induced on me was incredibly high. So they were saying I would become a failure if I didn't get a job. So I pushed myself again, and in another blackout situation I convinced myself that I wanted to apply myself as a job in the administration, where you have to organize different stuff and matters for institutions, people, or even the government. Now all this was quite promising for me, because firstly it was incredibly well paid and I hoped to fund one of my dreams from this money. Secondly, it was not far away from where I lived. And thirdly, it was just the easy way out. So I hoped myself that I could just silence their voices and accusations of me getting a failure and so on. So I just applied myself and I was finally invited by them. So as a consequence, I had to face a job interview after I have finished successfully this first test of them. And this job interview went miserably wrong, because the only thing I could do was reproducing my curriculum vitae, but I couldn't answer them or give them concrete answers to their questions, nor could I convince them in the end. But I couldn't even convince myself that I wanted this job or had serious interests in that. So that was basically the end before the beginning, and I sat again at home and considering what to do next, because everything I didn't work out in the end. So I had a quite interesting insight, because until this point of time I was only acting from this one side of me, which wanted to please people, which wanted to be regular and just to fit in. But at this time I knew something new about my other side of me, because it was kind of a spiritual side, because I had an increasing interest in all kinds of paranormal, metaphysical stuff, and as a consequence I knew something about this spirituality. But at the same time I knew that it was heavily linked with dark and deep connotations by society and the media. So considering that, I denied it yet again, saying I was just crazy and those things don't even exist. But deep down in my inner being, I just knew there was something up with spirituality in my case. Because later on those circumstances and coincidences started to increase massively, and they affected my daily life even more. So by strange circumstances I mean random occurring number sequences or even symbols which affect me even more. But again I just said to myself it was just a phase rather than an intensifying process, and that it would just go away after some time. But this intensifying process proved me wrong in the end, because it started to take over several aspects of my life and took really important parts of that. And as a result, I started to see many things in a different way, you could say, with different eyes. And it was like you know something, and in the end you have to admit to yourself that you know just nothing at all. And so it was in my case. Because from now on I could see those people around me, my situation, and all those jobs and my struggles with different eyes. So you surely know about the phrase, everyone is unique. Well, during that process of becoming spiritual, or as some people refer to it, a spiritual awakening, I gained evidence over the following. Well, indeed, everyone may seem unique in their own way, but most of them try to be like someone else, therefore denying their own uniqueness. But why is that so? That's quite simple, because copying is always easier than creating. And sadly, most people aren't even aware of that fact, so they're just unaware of it, unconscious. And this is one of those things I gained evidence over during my spiritual awakening, or during my phase of getting more aware of various things. And according to that, my whole inner being started to change, because I started to see things from a different angle, from a different perspective. So everything related to my past experiences was ripped away by this process from me, in order to finally accept myself fully and 100%. Especially this was one of the hardest parts of the spiritual awakening, because some wounds are really deep, and the deeper they are, the longer it takes to heal in the end. But when I finally accomplished that, suddenly I knew exactly what I wanted and what I didn't want. And what I want was just establishing lovely connections with people and engaging with them. So interactions based on love and warmth instead of ignorance and hatred or coldness. And at the same time, I saw a quite popular medium as the perfect opportunity to do exactly that. But further, I was unable to do it because of my inner fear I had. So I saw myself just incapable of reaching that high, because of my fear of thinking about too much what other people may think of me, or how they would react to me. So as a consequence, I've chosen to go the easy way yet again, because I saw myself unable to reach higher. But this time with the difference that it was all related to a hobby of me. So my hobby was to play the piano, and I just loved it. It was not only a mere hobby, it was rather a passion of me. So with that in my backhand, I chose to apply myself for the job as a piano maker. And especially that aroused a bit of a frustration in the faces of my family and friends, because they didn't expect that. But on my behalf, it was the initiation of just reaching for my aspirations and for my dreams. And further, my priority shifted from where others wanted me to see to just where I wanted to see myself. However, I was, after countless applications, invited by them to their locations, and had this time only to face a little job interview. And this job interview went awesome, so it was not far away from perfect, because even this man interviewing me said I had great chances of getting this job. So as a consequence, I moved back home again and just waited for this letter of him to make it official. And later on, after some time has passed, I received a letter from exactly this man. And everything about my life just changed. As I saw this letter, I was holding it in my right hand and staring at it. I had to read that the spot I was hoping for was given to another applicant. So I was still holding this sheet of paper in my right hand and staring at the table. And as a result, I was just unable to react in any way, because I was asking myself why it had happened again. But after some time has passed, I gained new clarity about my whole situation. And from a spiritual point of view, I gained evidence over the following. So every time until now I was acting from this kind of, compromising, because I saw myself unable to reach for the stars, unable to go for anything. But what happened if I just acted from this new perspective, from this perspective that I can only reach my dreams if I risked everything? And further I saw that all this struggle just sometimes started to make sense somehow. Because when I looked at it again, I saw that all my fear and insecurities had vanished. And that surprised me, because they were quite heavy and had an impact on me, and suddenly they were just gone. And suddenly there were no obstacles anymore in my way of just daring what I wanted to do most. And from now on it didn't even matter what others think of me or how they would react to me, to my personality, what I was doing. And really that was the initiation of coming to this place and finally venturing everything. So having said that, and having a kind spiritual point of view on various things, I have to admit the following. So we as humanity, we just need to wake up and find our way back to our uniqueness, to our roots. But first and foremost, we have to find our way back to the Trinity, which is love, compassion and empathy. So basically the things that let us appear human. Because consider the following. As artificial intelligence starts to increase over the years, robots and machines start to replace us humans one by one, one after another. And although their creators might be humans and might be human, in essence, those machines and robots are far away from anything human. And because of that, they're quite far away of true empathy, true love and true compassion. And in this process, I see myself entangled in. Driven by the famous quotation of the series Prison Break, which once said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." So this quotation is one of the most important to me, and one I definitely want to act from. So everything I wanted to see in the world is just humanity being joyful, being compassionate, being loving, just the way humanity is meant to be. And from my side, I just want to spread positivity, love and compassion, as well as my past experiences and my wisdom, which I've gained along my journey up to now. Because it may help every one of us to find our way back. And this is one of the things we need most right now in these times. So this is basically all I wanted to say for now. And I'd love to have you on this journey here with me. And further, I thank you from the bottom of my heart that you gave me your attention and the opportunity to speak to you in this, for me, quite important matter. But however, I thank you for listening and watching this video, and wish you an awesome day. Until next time.